Wanderer of the Realms by James Mandolare. Chapter 7 The Ferryman. Megaleer's spirit found itself standing on the red sand shore of the Red Realm. A red river flowed by slowly, reflecting the rusty sky. The air was heavy and full of dust, blowing in the hot wind that always blew through the Red Realm. Across the wide river were a line of faded blue hills off through a white fog that hung above the water. He was alone, but he could still hear the bells that sounded far off out across the water. Soon, out of the mist, some candle lights appeared, and the bells grew louder as the ferry came into view, coming toward him as he stood on the shore. As the ferry drew slowly closer, other souls appeared and walked down to the water line. A dock went out into the water, and the people crowded onto it. Some of the crowd noticed Megaleer and told him they knew of his work as a bard and of his famous songs, poems, and essays he had written and performed at the Cafe of the One over the past 30 years. A few were known to him personally, and they had a glad reunion on the dock. These were people who had recently passed away, who had lived in Aslef, known to Megaleer. They were all looking out over the water, watching as the ferry inched ever closer to the shore. They all wondered what they would find on the other shore. Some said they had come, like Megaleer, out of the Red Realm, and others explained that they just found themselves here after a painful moment of passing. The pain only lasted a second, and then it was gone. To think I feared death so long, only to experience a short instant of pain, and then end up standing here, was a common comment. The ferry finally appeared, and they all walked slowly on board, past the railing and the gate. Candles and lanterns burned brightly, candles in holders on top of the rail, and golden lanterns were suspended from the four corners of the flat, square ferry. A tall man in a hood and cloak stood at the back of the ferry with a long pole. He used it to take the ferry back and forth across the water. His hood was black, and nothing could be seen behind it. The head just nodded as everyone came aboard. When the last person embarked, the rail gate was shut, and the ferryman began the slow crawl across the river, using his long pole to push against the riverbed. Starweaver stood with Kathleen at the rail, watching the blue shore slowly approaching as the ferry made its way across. He chatted with her and some of the other passengers. "I'm overjoyed to be with you again, my long-lost love," Starweaver told her, standing close with his arm around her. "After your terrible passing, I did not love again for all those decades. I was a lonely soul." "We are soul travelers, you and I, my love," she said. "We are eternal lovers." She embraced him and held on tightly. "My spirit is journeying to join you here, to escort you to the land of dreams, where we can spend this blessed time together. But, my dear soul, I am also like you, living as a human being now as well. I am very close to you now. I am a nurse in the Temple of Corlin. You will soon be back on the manifest, and we will be together again in a new life that will make up for the old losses and allow you to love again." "Really? You are living another life on Celestial? You're near me now? Do I know you? Do you have a name?" Starweaver asked rapidly, excited at the prospect. "You will soon meet me and know that it is me. Eventually. You will experience coincidental signs that my spirit is with you again. Look for these private jokes between you and the universe. They are subtle messages from those spirits who love you and are your soul friends, and who travel the ages with you. I cannot tell you exactly when or give you a name. That is the rule of spirit. The future is changeable. It is an art, not a science." Steph, an old friend of Megaleer's from Aslef, approached the couple and bowed to Starweaver. He was a tall and handsome old gentleman, a retired old soldier. He was once an important and accomplished officer, a mystical soldier. He was known throughout the Empire as a former paladin from the Imperial Guard. He was a brave man who had seen much danger in his long career. He had retired to the mainland and lived in the maze in Aslaf, and helped to bring the Earth People's Movement to prominence with Mandolare and Lord Dillon and others. Hello, Master Bard. It is good to see you. I have recently passed into the realms, apparently, he said. I have left the manifest behind me for now. They embraced. It is good to see you, Steph, Starweaver replied, and they shook arms and embraced. Looks like your battles are over for now, old friend. I see that by your white aura that you are only here for a visit and still have more trials to face back on the manifest. Many spirits here are dreamers, like you, with the white aura of life still around them. I will not be going back. My time has come. I am content. We fought many great battles for the Earth Children, you and I. I am proud to have been of service and honored to call you my friend. I'll miss you, lad, Starweaver replied warmly. Steph smiled back and said, The ferryman wishes to talk to you, Master Bart Starweaver. He pointed the way to the back of the ferry. Starweaver kissed his love one more time. He noticed that she had the white aura of the living shining all around her just as he did, and that meant she was still living in the manifest world. Like Megaleer's spirit, Starweaver, he was only a visiting dreamer here on the realms within, and had a life waiting for him back in his body and the world of time and space. Wait right here, me love. I'll be right back, he said, looking into her bright brown eyes filled with love for him. I'm with you every step of the way until the end of time, Megaleer, she said, smiling. You can never lose me for long, only for a little while. I will not let you struggle with the mortal challenges of life without me. Starweaver followed Steph to the stern where the tall, hooded figure stood poling the ferry. As Starweaver bowed to this mysterious figure, he could feel a powerful presence of an immortal being with his bard sight. When the ferryman removed his hood, Starweaver was even more shocked. A skull face smiled back at him. A bright red spot of fire burned inside the two black eyeless holes, and that eternal grin, lifeless and cruel, shone white in the murky light and fog. Starweaver drew back, but was surprised again, as the skull face slowly formed into a new face that appeared over the skull. But the face was even more alarming. It was as if the skull-faced horror put on a magical mask that slowly faded into view over the skull. Starweaver saw a strange and frightening creature appear, a red-faced devil with red glowing eyes, thick black hair, and white calf horns sticking out of both sides of his head. Even the gray hooded cape had transformed to a deep blood red. I am called Imaj, son of Tonth the Trickster, he said, introducing himself with a very powerful, deep, and resonant voice. Welcome to the realms within, Master Bard, he said. I am an immortal being, doomed to walk among you foolish mortals, and watch your folly destroy and dishonor the sacred universe. That sounds like a curse to me, Starweaver answered with a slight smirk, showing even this strange immortal creature his characteristically wry sense of humor. I have walked these careworn paths of manifest reality since the first days when mankind stepped out of the trees and stood upon the earth and sang his first song. I've seen civilizations rise and fall in on themselves over and over. I have seen the innocent and sweet trampled under the tyrant's blood-soaked boots. I have seen the fire consume the world's masterpieces of art in the flames of war. You will soon be returning to the manifest to face greater challenges than ever before. Look into the water and tell me what you see. He pointed to the water off the railing. Starweaver looked down at the water and soon saw images forming in the colors that swirled in the wake of the slow-moving craft. He was looking down at events in the manifest world from high above. He saw himself lying in a hospital bed, again being tended by nurses. He wondered if one of them might be his beloved wife's spirit, returned to him, and felt certain that she was there, tending to him. The water shifted and light sparkled on the waves. Starweaver saw the water reform and the sunlight breaking through the clouds above the ferry dispelled the fog and mist swirling around them. But the light took on a frightening vision in Starweaver's sight. He saw, in the water, Aslef burning, the flames consuming every familiar street corner and plaza. The city was being attacked by demons from the Red Realm. He heard the screams of the dying and saw the suffering Earth children wandering the burned-out streets, crying for help. He saw the maze burning. The houses crackled and smoke poured black into the sky. The black clouds obscured the vision. The green park trees were black trunks. The grass burnt black, and the Cafe of the One was a smoldering ruin. Starweaver drew back in complete horror as another skull face appeared in his watery vision, with eyes that burned in unquenchable flames. "Demoltiel!" Starweaver exclaimed, knowing this ancient evil being was somehow let loose again upon the world as he had of old. 250 years ago, this same demon had made the desolation of Alarin and been the ruin of the ancient Azlorm Academy. Demoltiel was drowned in the Lake of Sorrows and chained there by Feck the Wizard. But 30 years ago, that demon was set free to return to its home in the Lake of Fire on the Red Realm, to never haunt the living world again by Lord Dylan and Orphank, the Golden Dragon. Somehow, this same fire demon, Demoltiel, was going to burn his beloved Aslef in the future, and then his demon armies, according to the vision as it continued to play out on the waters, would march across the Empire, attacking the new city Penty, and reducing her to ruins as well. As he stood looking down in horror, Starweaver saw a huge red dragon flying over the Imperial Palace on the island of Wentz, on the manifest realm of Celestion. The red dragon swooped down upon the capital city of the Corallic Empire. A red fog descended on the city. The water shifted again, and Starweaver then saw the image of a man he did not know. The man was a Corallic priest in orange robes. Corallic priests usually wear yellow robes, and Starweaver was confused at first. "That is the true, righteous, undeniable Master Prophet," Umaj said. "His real name is Nelden. He has started a movement to return to the pure Corallic creed and to restore the Empire to past glories. He hates the Shamandala and the Tolkal and the Padesh and anyone who's not just like him. It is an ancient human weakness. It is a sick form of intoxication." Umaj laughed and looked sadly out over the waters. "This particular foolish mortal thinks he is the only true believer in Father Corlin, and that everyone, throughout all time and all cultures and infinity, should be just like him." Umaj laughed, the deep, sad laughter of the wise. "He is afraid of any change and wants the world to revert to the past. He does not know that the universe is expanding and that we must all expand with it, or suffer in misery of our bad choices and perish in ignorance of our own conceit." He laughed again, showing ancient lines in his strange red face. Then he spoke again, in that deep, slow wisdom, so sad and so weary that his eyes looked out of the dark depths that had seen too much sorrow and folly. "Holding back the future is a foolish pursuit. The future always wins, eventually. He is trying to stop the evolution of the Empire that Wensia II and your golden dragon and the Earth Children are all bringing about to end war and change the Empire forever into a peaceful, global trade federation. Poor Neldon thinks he is talking to Father Corlin himself, his great mythic god hero. But he is talking to Redlick, the red golden dragon, whose mind is the man you know as Kelder Tyrant. He has forsaken life to become a great demon lord of the Red Realm. I know. I saw him on the Red Realm. He is lost in his conceit. He's become a dark and dangerous red dragon. He's nothing but a beast, Starweaver said. This twisted soul, your old boss and nemesis who wounded your master with his scepter and sword, Count Kelder Tyrant, seeks to use this poor, conceited fool to destroy all that you and your friends, Lord Dillon and the Golden Dragon Orphank, and yes, even that visitor from beyond the stars, Silenciar, the Star King, all that you have worked and sacrificed for all your life, Master Bard, and all that you and your masters have lived and died for. All your life's work, all that you have fought so hard to obtain, all that you have created in your time in Aslith to evolve our world beyond this warrior cult of conquest and slavery. It is all about to be devoured in the eternal fire of this evil demon, Demortia. Evil comes to destroy the world that will not change. It comes for those who will not grow and transform to make the world a better place for all life to thrive. Evil will burn away the innocent and the sweet to show how evil and wrong it is to have a few rich and powerful overlords living in a paradise built on slavery. It comes to avenge the many who die in depravity, poverty, and violence. Starweaver dared to look again into the watery visions, and he saw the water blush red. He saw a new horror. The red dragon appeared in the sky above the man Neldon in his orange robes. The man was praying on a green hillside outside of Aslith. He said the Coralic Creed over and over again in his mind. Meglir could hear it, seeking to be one with the Father. What is his name? What is his number? And one day, all of our people will be one. Neldon said over and over in a monotonous chant. His voice floated out over the grassy hill as the sun set red on the western mountains far away. The man did not see the red dragon, but was amazed and fell to his knees as a vision appeared in his mind of Father Corlin himself, projected by the red dragon, the false image of the Holy Father, the first emperor and founder of the Coralic people, father of Wensia, the first who founded the empire. Corlin, God himself, appeared before Neldon, shining in a blinding aura of white piercing light that showed his power, his majesty, and his glory. Neldon saw the perfect vision of his concept of what God is. He stopped chanting, and he stared in shock as this apparition stood shining in white light before him. An old, wise man in a golden crown and white robes that blazed blindingly bright all around him, blinding Neldon's eyes as they filled with grateful tears. He fell on his knees and covered his face. My lord, Father Corlin, I am not worthy, he cried as tears streamed down his face. The glowing heroic image of Father Corlin, all in white, with a golden crown on his head, stood before the man and reached out a glowing hand and put it on his bald head. You are my only beloved son, who has come to save the empire. Arise, true, righteous, undeniable master prophet. Starweaver saw the image get washed away as he noticed the face of this pretend mythic hero was that of this old enemy, Count Kelder Tyrant. Damn that Kelder! Starweaver exclaimed. A worthy opponent, Image laughed. A black-hearted necromancer. To his great surprise, Image continued laughing. Mortals are so easily duped, he said. You refuse to see the stars shining all around you and get lost in your self-intoxication and mythic retardation. You try so hard, too hard, to be Corallin's favorite child, only to be fooled again by your well-intentioned conceit to save the world. It looks like the world's in need of saving, Starweaver said. A terrible war is coming. Did you think Tonth would allow the Earth children to turn the whole world into a Shamandala garden without some obstacles? My father, Tonth the trickster, will not allow this new world to come so easily. You have to earn it, Star King or not. Your new world will not come into being without a price for all those who needlessly have suffered and died in war, or were sold into slavery and tortured by the tyranny of poverty and hard work and mindless, thoughtless, numbing drudgery. Tonth will challenge you and lead you down many twisting and turning paths, and many losses and tears, and exotic pleasures and exquisite joys, to deepen and prepare you for a greater task and a greater journey before you arrive at the Star King's Shalomi Temple. Will I meet the Star King? In the end, you will serve him and explore the world for Father Corlin and Tonth. For know this truth, Master Bard. They are one and the same divine spark, the three faces of God, the light, the dark, and the gray. Serve them, and you will help transform the world to one of peace and love and happiness. Fail in this task, and the world will burn away, and your Corallic Empire and your Earth children will all be burned away in unquenchable flames. The Corallic Empire will fall into ruin and be lost to history, and all you have lived and died and struggled and sacrificed for will be lost to history and forgotten and turned to dust. Why does it have to be so hard? Why all the war and violence and suffering, Lord? Is not divine love the only true power? Mandolare asked. Image laughed long and hard at this. You can only expect perfect being and courage from yourself. Loving others is the challenge of many lifetimes. It is why we keep coming back, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. Would you have the world be a garden of innocence and pleasure without wisdom or appreciation of the great and eternal vast mystery that is eternity? You need the darkness to see the light. Human mortals are the universe appreciating itself. You think you are the guiding light of eternity when you are only humble mortal children. You struggle and strive when you only need to breathe in the present moment. The red-faced devil smiled and winked. Love life, and life will love you back. He raised his head and shouted at the fellow passengers. You foolish mortals! You believe in a false dichotomy. There is no real evil in life. If divine love and perfect goodness were the only power in the universe, would we keep living over and over forever? If mortal life was free of sorrow and challenge, we wouldn't bother to get lost in the drama of eternal ages. We would grow bored with the dream and give up generating dream worlds to get lost in. Our eternal being would stay forever in bliss as the silent one, beyond all time and space and ego. and our true essential cosmic oneness would have nothing outside itself to love. We would be cosmically lonely, even if we were blissfully unaware of it. Our refined, all powerful, and eternal nature would be stranded as a single light shining out for no one in an empty, cosmic, and eternal void. He chuckled and went on. The evolution of souls would end, and there would be no art or music or literature or learning. There would be no growth to a better humanity and a better civilization. Imaj's red face was lined with his centuries of existing. His burning red eyes softened and grew darker. The red light was a tiny focused point in the dark sea of pity. His booming voice softened. I do pity you, poor souls, playing this cyclic game of eternity. You are stuck in it, hypnotized by your desire for it, children of the earth indeed, going round and round and round, endlessly spinning, swirling, spiraling through the cosmos. You are a tiny drop in the ocean of deep eternal time, a dewdrop clinging to a branch so soon to die, and no way of knowing. Yes, I am sorry, for you have so little time to come to know the truth of your great eternal existence and power. You are the totality of the universe. He pulled the ferry and looked out at the blue hills and soft lights appearing out of the mist on the farther shore. Beyond all desire and all pain and fear and sorrow, you are. He looked around breathlessly. You are, he said again. Even after death, you are. Now you can begin to feel the return of that totality. Now you know what it is to be who you really are. Deeper and deeper goes that well of being. The very small tip of it is your tiny ego, that endlessly chatting monologue forged through a century of life, that tiny chatty voice in your head that you think is really who you are. He laughed so long and so hard that he choked. Who you are runs much, much deeper than that, deeper than the stars and galaxies. In your unconscious lies a perfected artistic and poetic mind. You are that inner expanse of the great symbolic power of divinely creative consciousness to meld infinity into dreams, both personal and infinite. The power to create universes. His red eyes glowed out of his red face and touched each pair of eyes in the crowd, and his deep voice shouted out and hypnotized the crowd of spirits all around him. You have that power to co-create the worlds of your own desire, the good and bad, the thoughts and emotions, both petty and profound. One bright day, you will feel it, sitting in your summer garden, sipping tea and smoking your precious goddess weed with a beloved friend and fellow soul traveler. You will know it. You will breathe it in and know it is enough. You will feel the perfection of nature and know you are one with that totality and that perfection, even in the pain and suffering and loneliness and sorrow. And you will breathe in that perfect moment, beyond all duality, and find the unity in the perfect precision of moon and planets and stars, in the perfect orange afternoon. You will know it as night comes softly down. You will know it in the moonrise, so round and bright and perfect. And you will feel grateful to breathe again and feel content, accepting old age, sickness, and death, and understanding your own folly, your own place in the swirling, unknowable cosmos, resigned and grateful, even for the fleeting, untouchable, flowing changes that sweep us from cradle to grave so quickly, and yet so agonizingly slowly, and around it goes. Image turned from the other passengers and put his arm around Starweaver's shoulders and looked down at him kindly. You, Master Bard Starweaver, have worked all your long and lonely life for this expansion, this evolution, to make the world a better one for those that come after you. You have suffered war and loss and great grief, only to become the powerful force for bardic truth and for a fairer and more equal world. But you have greater challenges yet to face to make you the true disciple of Tenor Songweaver and Lomian Silvertongue. You will one day be greater than them all. No way, Starweaver said, laughing in his turn. Greater than me Master Tenor? He was one of the greatest Loremaster bards that ever lived. Greater than even Lomian Silvertongue of old, the heroic warrior bard of legend? You will be both the great Loremaster and the warrior bard. Illness, injury, loss, and war will transform you. The spirits of Songweaver and Silvertongue are with you in the Chromenium gem, as are all the bards of old, and I too will be there for you when you are ready, to aid you in this greatest of all tasks, this world-transforming spirit quest, to make the world one of one people, a world that lives in peace, love, and plenty for everyone, and creates the fair and equal civilization that can last the centuries without crashing in on itself. The time is now. The whole world stands ready to fall and be destroyed in eternal fire, or arise to become the greatest civilization that has ever existed on this earth. You, Master Bard Starweaver, once the poor lost soldier Megala Pren, are one of the many who will give birth to this new world if you can face these terrible challenges to come. The planet is a goddess of life, a rare jewel in this universe. You will help to bring her the peace and justice that can foster all life and continue to grow and expand for centuries to come, blessed by innocence and grace, and living in harmony and balance with all life, and founding a civilization to last for thousands of years. How can one fool change the world? Starweaver asked. I have seen worlds come and go, Image said, looking out with his red-hot pupils over the water. I have seen poets murdered from the shadows on the orders of evil men. I have seen the innocent turn to old drunken wrecks by the cruelty and brutality of perverted and disgraceful brutes. And always they rise up strong on the fire and ashes of war and slavery, only to be taken down by their own greed and brutality. 1,000 civilizations, with all their miracles, have come and gone, turned to dust with all their wonders. They were destroyed one after the other by those who will not give, but only take. They suck the world dry in their emptiness, greed, and conceit. The whole universe spins into them, and they would gobble the stars if they could. But I've also seen the gentle and the sweet prevail, and the artistic singers bring joy to save the war-weary world with simple and humble songs. There have been saints and artists who poured their hope and inspired genius out on the world, only to be lost in obscurity, hated for their visions, and belittled for daring to be great. I have seen the brutal beasts fall on their knees in shame over their racism and brutality, and small acts of kindness reverberate throughout the world. I have seen the power of a great song to inspire the joy of life, and, though it is rare, I have seen one man inspire a generation to believe in their own imagination as a spiritual tool to access other realities. I have seen the brave, wise, and true rise with the courage of their own unique vision to transform the world. I have seen prophets tell the truth of a future wisdom and grace that comes after the times of darkness have passed. And I have seen golden ages of blessedness brought on by the passionate painters of future dreams of peace and love and harmony. And I have seen the poor unsung heroes singing for the end of war for 50 years, only to see the world consumed in greed, hypocrisy, and deceit. He smiled kindly at Starweaver. And I have faith that, as long as there are good and decent human beings living in a wonder filled worlds of creation, there is hope that one day they may find the courage to build a better world that allows everyone a decent chance to live a life that serves life and creates joyous wonders to add to the majesty of this eternal play of the light, the dark, and the gray. I have faith in you, Master Bard Mandolare Starweaver, and of that great challenge to rise above the murder and chaos of history, to create a world that can endure the ages in blessedness and in peace. Mandolare saw the blue shore rapidly approaching as the ferry made its way across the river, slowly going against the current. I want to thank you, Lord Emash, for your visions and your wisdom, Starweaver said with a kindly smile. His brown eyes were warm with gratitude and admiration. The immortal son of Tonth looked back in pure surprise at this simple courtesy. His red eyes filled with tears at this rare show of a mortal for the red-faced devil. The devil's red, burning embers of his pupils turned brown, and the fierce fire went out and turned to a soft point of light. The intense brow softened too, and his face changed, slowly transforming into an older version of Starweaver himself. Mandolare watched as he saw his own face turn old, his hair turn white, and the lines deepened, and his face seemed to drip off his skull as it aged before his eyes. Mandolare's own face looked out of the ferryman's deep black hood, appearing as the red devil face faded again. You will go back to the worlds of manifest again, my dear child, the beaming face said, as if the golden light emanated from within. I am that flame in your heart, Starweaver. I am the part of you at one with all that lives. On the finest realms of blessedness, we live forever, one with the cosmic mind of the universe. But you have the greater gift, dear one. Mandolare's own kindly smile looked back at him. The ancient face smiled with a quiet contentedness and a sincere and open appreciation, with a touch of pity. You, Master Bard Starweaver, get to go back to the pain and the loss and the grief of war and death and the brutal world created by ancient fools obsessed with power. They hope to force civilization to evolve through conquering others with violence and war instead of love and generosity. Do not waste a moment, Master Bard. The face changed back to its original horrible condition, a bone white skull face without eyes, but for the red burning embers, deep back in the center of those black eyeless sockets. The same voice continued to speak, the teeth in the skull's mouth moving with the words. Do not waste one single moment, one single breath. Get the most out of being a helpless creature carved by this mighty universe. You, dear mortal, are the very small tip of the infinite pyramid of your infinity. You are the universe experiencing itself, a singular jewel in all the cosmos. And that makes you a sacred being. Do not judge your need for love, or that petty and perverse shadow of your beastly blood. You are not that, and you need not feed that reptilian beast with innocent blood and brutal rape and the power to kill life. Go back and put an end to war, my dear son. It will be the adventure that saves the world. Ferryman bowed. Let kindness be your best virtue, and courtesy your finest art. I'm only one old man, and I was looking forward to an easy retirement, Starweaver admitted. Then I got hit on the head with a rock. I saw myself back in the world lying in a bed with a bad wound on the head. What kind of future now unfolds for me? What can I do against Redlick and Demartio and demon armies and such? I'm not lonely in Silvertongue. The ferryman laughed softly and pointed to the water with his free hand. Look again, Master Bard. Mago Starweaver. Starweaver looked over the rail and saw another bright vision forming in the water as he gazed. Made out of the rippling colors of the water and the sky-red sunset sparkling on the waves, he saw himself standing in a strange boat, facing the sunrise. The long, strange boat rode on the land, and he was with a company of others, preparing to start out on a brave new adventure. He saw the excitement and pure joy on his own face, though it was older, lined with having suffered greatly. His eyes were deeper and wiser. His hair turned white. Starweaver felt the pure, exquisite joy as the old man in the boat, his future self, Starweaver assumed, stood enraptured and relished the perfect moment. The strange boat moved over the land as he saw himself speed quickly away, and the vision faded. What was that? Was that me in the future? Starweaver asked with a chuckle and a smile. The ferryman did not answer. He put his deep hood back up, and his red face was lost to shadow. Then the silent spectre motioned with a slight and silent nod of his head that the journey across the river was at an end. The ferry reached the further shore, and they all walked off the ferry and into the blue realm of dreams.